Well, hello, this is Christopher James with All Things Branson, and I am here at the Branson Chamber of Commerce. Is that the official name?
The Branson Lakes Area Chamber of Commerce
Oh.
and Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Wow.
Yes.
And what is the acronym for that?
The BLA CCCBB.
We get that all the time at our show. People have these long names, and so I say the acronym, and they just look at me like, what are you talking about? But I am here with Jeff, I want to say it right.
Seifried.
Seifried.
You got it.
Yeah. See, I'm used to having people mispronounce my name, but you're the president of the Branson Lakes Chamber Commerce, CF, whatever.
You got it.
Yeah, how long have you been doing that?
You know, I can't say that I'm officially new anymore. There's some time frame in there. I think it's
In
6
Branson?
months.
But in Branson it's like 10 years.
Yeah. Oh, good. I've started this job in March of last year.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. And what were you doing before that?
Before, I worked in economic development based out of Springfield for
Yeah?
the last 8 years.
For
before
what?
that. For the Springfield Chamber of Commerce.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, see, they have an easy name.
Yes.
So that's much easier. But did you, so what was your connection with Branson then? Do you live in Branson?
I have just moved to the lake area.
So you are new.
So I am, I'm very new, new. But I worked a 10-county region around Springfield for economic development, working on businesses looking to relocate to Southwest Missouri or looking to expand in Southwest Missouri.
So you help them like look at resources that they had and stuff like that? Or you encourage
Location
them?
decisions on where to locate, funding, incentives from the state or local municipalities.
Oh, that's cool.
Stuff like that.
So what's the big difference between Branson and Springfield?
Well, I think the obvious, which is the economies. While we are a regional economy, the Branson economy is really tourism-based.
Right.
Whereas Springfield is much more what we would consider a traditional or diversified economy. So
Right.
manufacturing base, manufacturing history. You've got several large corporations out of Springfield. And while you have similar dynamics of family-owned businesses here in Branson, smaller scale, less diversification across the industry sectors.
Right. Yeah, people ask me, I used to do a question and answer at the showboat there. And so they would ask me, what's the number one business other than tourism in Branson? That was very difficult. I couldn't. Somebody wanted to know, what do you manufacture in Branson?
Happiness.
I'm like, memories.
Memories, there you go. That's
There you
right.
go.
That's what we do. That's
Yeah,
what we do.
because it is kind of a weird economy for me. I mean, it's a weird dynamic coming here because like now, we're recording this in January and there's not a lot of tourism right now.
Yeah,
so it's a
correct.
whole different dynamic. In fact, I just got off a cruise ship and some people said, we're coming to Branson next week. And I'm like, really? End of January.
We'll get everything open for you.
Yeah, I was like, what do you plan on doing? And, they were coming to stay at Big Cedar and then come for the winter and that sort of thing. So have you, so other than the economic development, what's your business background? Have you ever owned a small business? Because I know you deal with that quite a bit.
Sure. I have actually started. I was in the startup business for a while. That didn't go well.
Started a lot of different things.
Yeah. So, but as far as chamber work before that, I actually worked in Branson for Tuckson and Associates with the one and only Mr. Gorm Tuckson.
I don't know what that
and that's how I cut my teeth on business. And so actually they're located at the Branson Commerce Center here off of...
What do they do?
They are in the access control business.
Everything you do is very vague. Economic
It's the
development,
economic
access
development
control.
background. We're not allowed to
Access
share
control,
a lot.
It's like a doorman. It's like somebody else.
We outsource doormen and women
That's what they
across
do.
America.
You can't go in here.
So, really interesting business model. Basically, working with companies overseas to bring their products to market in the access control industry. Access control is, think of it this way. You've got a card that goes beep at the door, you open the door.
Right.
Access control.
Oh, I see.
There's a whole lot of stuff that goes into that.
Yeah,
but
it seems complicated.
It's security, access control, that type of
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
So-
That makes sense. That sounds very exciting.
Yeah, it was good. It was very cool.
So you were doing that. And so what made you, did the Branson Chamber of Lakes and Commerce and visiting people, did they recruit you or did you come here looking for a job with them? I mean, how did they find you? How did you end up? I'm curious what it takes to be president.
Well, I've
Because
been...
you have all the Secret Service back here.
Yeah, that's right. They're focused on you. I've been in this market I would call Southwest Missouri since 2001, and so I've fallen in love with Southwest Missouri. Period. It's very rare that in this business, whether it's economic development, organizational management, that you can actually shift over to a different organization within your area. And so this position came up. I was definitely ingrained in Springfield and the region, and to me, this was the perfect opportunity to shift gears in my professional life.
Oh, I see. So you had proper access control.
Oh, there we go. Yes.
Bringing it all around.
There we go.
And so here you are,
yeah.
president of this. And so that's kind of your background. And I thought what we would do when we come back in a minute is talk about what's been going on this past year. Because there's been a lot of changes. I've been here 10 or 11 years here in Branson. And man, things have changed like crazy, especially in the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
With businesses mostly. And that's
Correct.
what I want to talk to you about. So we'll be back in just a minute. Thank you for supporting All Things Branson. Be sure to subscribe and stay in touch on Facebook and Twitter. What's the trend that you saw in 2015, though?
The biggest trend in 2015, from our perspective, was the fact that the confidence level to invest in Branson is at, I would say, an all-time high. And so, why do you say that? Why would I say that? Well, look at what's happening in the marketplace, and if I go to the economic development page and I look at the projects that are stacking up of what's moving in the marketplace, like Fritz's Adventure, like Project Bigfoot that just announced.
Right.
Those don't happen unless investors have confidence in your marketplace.
Yeah, they want to make money.
That's right.
So.
And so if you look at it from a different angle, those are very important. But what's more important is that people now have confidence to invest in Branson like they have in the past.
What kind of businesses are you seeing coming in, though, that are at least inquiring? Is it a lot more, seems like a lot more interactive type things to me, such as the escape room stuff.
Oh, isn't that fantastic?
Yeah, the Fritz's, the things that the whole family can do rather than a lot of the bigger shows and stuff. I mean, our shows are pretty established, and I always say we have natural selection here in that when a new show opens, if it's not good, it gets weeded out automatically. You just can't survive.
It's like it's just like the restaurant model. You know, if your food is not great, you're probably not going to survive in any marketplace. So, you know, what's moving is the attraction business. Now, I would break it down. 60-70% is probably attraction based, and the rest is probably diversified. But it is that attraction that is diving deep into our brand that is doing really well. So what I mean by that is those who are embracing the family values, the family experience, the interaction, like Fritz's Adventure. That's what the consumer is wanting on their experience. And they want a couple of offerings, not just one really great one.
Yeah.
So we have, I think, a lot to offer coming into 2016 and then definitely in 2017.
But what do you think Branson needs? Is there some sort of business that you wish that you could attract here? Is there any, do you see a void, I guess, in anything specific for families or for tourists coming in, you know what I mean?
I'm going to answer that. I don't feel like I see. I don't see a major void. What I see is a labor issue, and so we can talk about a void, or we can talk about what we'd like to attract. But the reality is, until we start moving a needle on attracting qualified talent to the area, which is what every business is experiencing, a shortage of qualified talent, qualified employees. So until we start moving the needle there, I don't think we can have a substantive conversation on what it is we're lacking.
Right. Okay. But we have a weird economy in that it's not like, let's say Vegas, Atlantic City, one of the big tourist areas, because it's seasonal. Yeah. And so I'm sure that creates a problem with the labor issue.
Well, absolutely. I mean,
because I know a lot of performers that say, well, I want to work there, but I don't want to work there like 8 months, you know, like.
Yeah, most people want a year-round job. They want year-round employment. That's the expectation. And I think that's why it's important that you have economic development, CVB, and chamber focused on growing the 12-month economy, we'll call it. People call it year-round, people call it whatever. It's a 12-month economy, and the diversification is also important. And so whether we attract a a small light manufacturing plant, which that could be sustained here, that brings people to the area, that their families then can work in the industry, the tourism industry. Those are the types of synergies we're looking for to kind of close that gap.
Yeah, light manufacturing, you mean like lamps? And
Specifically lamps.
Lamps
yes,
and
brass
bulbs.
lamps, specifically.
That's it.
Yeah.
Little book lights.
Yeah.
Would that be considered
of course, of
light
course.
manufacturing?
I think so. I think it is. Yeah. That's good. Well, I think what we're seeing is people, I think the word is out that we can say that Branson is seasonal, but people want to experience Branson 12 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Great example. Coming here next week, can't wait to spend a week in Branson. It's January. Why would you come to Branson?
Right.
We're going to Big Cedar, and we want stuff to do.
Yeah.
So, there's a shift in our messaging. There's a shift in the expectation of the consumer that every market's open in 12 months, and Branson is too. And so I think that will naturally that gap will start closing together. And this is also a part of our business, is attracting convention business to the marketplace. That helps with the whole, I'll open earlier, but I need more customers. I can't just open in February and there not be anybody here. So that's why it's important to help close the gap in convention business, bring outside conventions here to the convention center and the chateau, so that can help close the gap.
And how has that convention center been working out? It seems like there's always something going on there, because I live down there and I hate the traffic. Because you have the car auction that goes on.
Of course.
But it just constantly I'm seeing things going on there. But that had to be a big boom for the whole area, attracting all these people.
What's fascinating about that is the convention goers, if you will, and the convention organizers that I've had the opportunity to speak with, who have come to Branson for the very first time. They said, in the past we've never considered Branson as somewhere we would want to do business, or just it's too far away, or it doesn't make sense, or yada yada yada. And typically what we find, and this is fascinating, there's no report, I don't think I have a report on this, but typically what we find is those conferences have better attendance than, let's say, a Kansas City or a St. Louis or somewhere else that they have traditionally been.
And out of curiosity, you think?
I don't know if it's curiosity or there is a familiarity with Branson across the Midwest, obviously, and the nation with all the marketing that we've done. But it's an unknown known quantity. I hate to pull out a government deal for you, but it's an unknown known quantity. So they know of Branson, but they don't know exactly how we've changed and how what the opportunities are to really spend your time as a visitor. And so it's we have done I got to commend Branson. I've got to commend the residents, and I've got to commend everybody who works here, because they're the reason that we're having such success at the convention center. Right.
But I've noticed a lot of shift in the advertising for Branson in the last couple of years, trying to advertise more of for the younger audiences, I would say, but not forgetting what the Branson tradition is of our veterans and all that sort of thing. But I've noticed a lot of shift towards the attractions, the amusement parks and stuff like that. And it just seems like they're really trying to attract the younger crowds. And so is it true that our demographic has gone down in terms of age over the last few years? Or? So
to answer that, yes, it is true. The demographic, the age has gone down, and actually we're on par with Nashville, to give you some perspective. What's interesting?
Good, right? That's good.
It is good.
I don't know anything about Nashville.
It is good. It is a good thing. But I think what's important is it's not so much a shift in marketing as it is diving deeper and making sure we're representative of all of the opportunities in Branson. So a shift would mean we're now representing this as a manufacturing community. You should come here to tour the GE plant.
Or the light plant.
Or the light plant, the light manufacturing plant.
If you can get access.
If you can get access.
It's very difficult to get access.
It's high security. But what's the reality of the situation is the marketing message is representative of the entire economy. And I think that's attracting new visitors, including a younger subset.
Thank you for supporting All Things Branson. Be sure to subscribe and stay in touch on Facebook and Twitter. Yeah, I don't know if you know, I do a lecture on cruise ships about Branson.
Really? I was not aware of that.
So every cruise I do this, and I've done it for probably 6 years. And it's very, very interesting, because my first question is, when you hear Branson, Missouri, what do you think? And
I can imagine you get a lot of interesting feedback.
I do get a lot of interesting feedback. What are some of the stereotypes that you think of, or conceptions people have of Branson, I guess?
Sure. I guess the ones that I've heard most common are, it's only country music in Branson.
Mm-hmm.
It's only for old people.
Yeah,
that's the
two
common
things
one.
that I thought when I came here.
And I've heard about the traffic, and there's no way I'd go to a place that I can't get around.
That's true. Yeah,
And
I
so
get those.
those are probably the three common sets that I hear. I've also heard, I didn't know you had lakes in Branson. I've also heard, I didn't know you had a theme park in Branson.
Right.
And so I think if you take the first three, which is most concerning because it doesn't speak to our current position in the market.
I agree.
Our current position is so much deeper and so much richer than just we have country music or we have bad traffic. Or
That's funny you say that, because when I got offered my job, my first response was, I've never heard of Branson, first of all. I had never
Shame
heard
on
of
you.
it. Yeah, I had never heard of it. But I did a little research, and then I said, I'm sorry, but I don't do anything that's country-based. And they said, no, you need to come here for a week and see what it's like. And then I came here and saw that it wasn't that at all.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what I thought. And with the older crowds, the same thing. But now the biggest shock, like you're saying, when I'm talking to people, is I talk about the water parks. I talk about all the zip lines. My kids and I do commercials for businesses here.
Yeah.
And you've probably seen a couple of them. And so I show them the commercial. That's part of my lectures. I show them us on the zip lines and us doing the putt-putt. And they're shocked. Like they have no idea.
Yeah.
That's the biggest surprise. I think you're right, is that we have all of these things.
And it's fun to tell that side of the story because it is to the consumer shocking.
Yeah.
Say, oh, well, I would be interested in something like that, or I would be interested in visiting Branson. And so telling the accurate picture is critical to our success.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
And 2015 just wrapped up. In 2016, there's a lot of things that have been announced. Now, I don't want to talk about anything that hasn't been announced yet, unless you want to give the scoop. But there's a lot going on. Of course, we've mentioned the Fritz thing, which is pretty cool. The Bigfoot project. Is that what it's called?
That's right.
Bigfoot. Project Bigfoot. That's been in the news quite a bit, from what I've seen, where they've been debating it. And basically, from what I know, it's some sort of tower. Why don't you explain what you know what it is, first of all?
Sure. Well, first of all, you're right. It has been in the news lately, so it's very timely. The City Council will take a final vote later in January to approve that project moving forward. So
now they're just approving like the size of it and stuff. Is that what they don't have to approve a certain business coming to town, do they?
That's right. They're approving the size, which is
Zoning,
it's a
basically.
200 plus foot structure, just over 200 feet, that is outside the normal boundaries of what you would be normally able to build in Branson.
Oh,
so
really?
they have
How
to
tall
get an
is the
exception.
Hollywood thing?
I don't know.
Oh, I just
Great-
thought
great
would think that
question.
was pretty close.
Yeah,
So.
so anything over really 100 foot has got to go through an exception process.
Oh, I see.
And so that's what they're doing. They're developing a plan development that has all of the ingredients necessary to make their project successful. So it's an attraction. It's a 200 plus foot tower where you go up and you're driven by different activities on the tower, basically.
Oh.
So it'll be unique to Branson.
Oh, I thought it was just a ride or something. I thought it was like you go up and you drop, or like something like. I guess I'm.
I think there's multiple opportunities to do different things.
Okay.
So, but I would encourage you to go online and research it, because it's, I believe there's only one other one in America, and I hate to say, I want to say Atlanta, if my memory serves me
Go ahead.
correct.
You can say
I'll say Atlanta.
Okay. and Steve Harvey says it was Chicago.
That's right. Yeah. So, and again, very exciting because it's a $10+ million project.
Yeah.
And those don't just come around every day. And
Right,
making sure that we figure out how to make it successful in Branson, embracing the community values, embracing all the things that go into make Branson.
Well, it seems
Branson.
like it would. I mean, just from what you're telling me.
I believe that it does, and
Yeah.
I think council will be successful in moving that project forward later this month, and they're hoping for, as I understand it, a 2016 start date at some point.
of building it.
Of getting it underway, completing it.
Really, that
Correct.
fast? That is pretty. But what about the gondola thing? Because this is very intriguing to me.
It's a huge project, and as that moves to its final stages later in the year, I would suspect, whether we get a go, no-go situation on if that's going to happen. It does serve two purposes. Primary purpose is people mover, so getting visitors to different locations. Three purposes. Second purpose is an attraction. I want to ride the gondola across Branson.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Which is, it's fun. If you've have you ridden a gondola?
Oh, yeah.
So they're fun. You can see everything.
Yeah.
And then the third is a workforce component, because if you, and I understand very little about the implementation or exactly how many cars there are, but it would serve as a very nice, I would say, workforce mover. So you could live downtown. You could live, if you could make it to one of the substations, get on and go directly to where you need to go. I think, in my mind, as far as moving people around, the Spirit of 76 redevelopment project, so with a trolley system, you add a gondola as a part of that. So you've got now multiple opportunities to not only move visitors,
maybe
take
I
cars
viewed it
off the
wrong.
road, but also to move workers back and forth.
Because I thought that it would be going along and you would be stopping like every, 100 feet or something. And I thought, how long is it going to take?
So the gondola is supposed to be continuous. And
So it doesn't stop.
It does not stop.
Oh, okay.
From what I
See,
understand,
I was looking at it totally wrong. I thought, how are you going to make it from one end of town to the other if you're stopping at all these different things?
That sounds like it would not be advantageous.
No, not at all.
So it continually moves. So when you go into the station, the video that I've seen is you step off the platform as the gondola is slowly moving. You step on the platform, people get on, and they go.
And it's going like 70 miles an hour.
So 75.
So it goes along with those go-karts that we have down there.
That's right.
That would be exciting, wouldn't it?
That would be an airplane, I think.
trying to get on the thing. That could be an adventure right there. We'd set up cameras and all that. So the gondola, we had the Bigfoot thing, we got the Fritz thing going on. I heard there might be some stuff going on with the Grand Palace, which I don't know any details about that. But is that right? Grand Palace?
That's correct.
I always get them mixed up. Grand Palace, White House.
Yeah.
Some things going on there. But what are some other businesses that have been announced that are going to start developing in 2016? Anything else?
Well, I think the thing to keep your eye on is what small startups are we going to see out of 2016 in Branson. So if you look at, there's a number of, I'd say specifically, sorts of an incubator that was just put into place. And so the big projects are great. Don't get me wrong. I love the big projects. But the ones to keep our eyes on are the startup companies.
Right.
Because the growth of our economy depends a lot on what startup companies can we spin out of our local economy. And so that's what I would keep your eye on.
Well, let's do some predictions. What businesses are going to fail this year? Give us some names.
There's a specific magic show I had in mind. I can't. What was the name of your show? No. Oh. Sorry. I think we had a record year in 2015.
Yeah.
Okay, bottom line. 2016, we anticipate being another record year as far as visitation goes. And the amount of tax dollars that are generated and spent in the economy.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cogs in that wheel. And so I think if you're on your game and you're focused and you have a plan to take advantage of the increased visitation and the new business investment that's being currently looked at in the community, you're going to do well.
Right.
So if you do not have a plan, you may not do as well.
Thank you for supporting All Things Branson. Be sure to subscribe and stay in touch on Facebook and Twitter. Just a couple final things real quick. So what are some of the big events that the Chamber does? I know you have the Black Tie Gala.
Sure.
Coming up. You have that coming up. But what are some big events, some big community events that the Chamber's involved with?
A couple things. One is certainly our outreach into Jefferson City. It's something that we overlook from time to time, I think, as a community and how important that is. And so while we have meetings and special guests, Lieutenant Governor was just here, all the different folks that come to Branson to communicate the message and be communicated to, that's something that I think not everyone is taking advantage of. So that's a program that we offer. We've offered for a long time.
Right.
Obviously, we do have the Black Tie Gala. Is it Gala? Gala?
Gala?
I always
I
say
don't really
Gala.
care.
I don't.
Gala.
Yeah. Which you were invited to. I don't know if you got your invitation, but we'll send another one.
Did I get an invitation?
I think we did send you an invitation. So that's coming up into February. we have a number of just events that I think are very important if you want to be engaged in the economy. Okay, the one we launched in 2015 that I think is most significant would be Good Morning Branson, and this is a way to connect with the city of Branson, the county government, and the school district. And so, if you want to be engaged and involved on in those different aspects of the economy, you should show up to those morning breakfasts.
They're very early. Yes,
they
I've thought about coming to some.
They are
but
very early.
They're extremely early. I didn't even know there was like.
But it's great
7
information.
a.m.
It's great information, and so if you're looking to be engaged or involved, that's a great way to start. Start your day. Start your morning.
Yeah, not for me. I'm not a morning person, but okay.
And I think the other opportunity is the Young Professionals Group. So BYP Branson Young Professionals. It's critical that we continue and do a better job of engaging our young professionals to show them that there are long-term opportunities here in Branson for them to connect them with the community leaders and make them feel involved to a level that they want to stay in Branson.
Right.
And this is something that every community is trying to do. So what we want to do is certainly keep our own here in Branson and attract new young professionals to the area. So, those businesses that are not taking advantage of the power of social media are doing a disservice to themselves. And so there are many ways to get your name out. A billboard is one of them. I commend you on your efforts to get the word out.
We try. So speaking of social media, a topic that we've had on here a few times. Let's talk about this. Explain the Richard Branson thing to me. How'd that work out? Would you say that was a positive?
I would say that was positive. Just like a lot of people know, we received quite a bit of negative feedback from the local business community. And so if you look at what we feel was a return on investment and recognition by a completely different audience and across America and the entire world, that we couldn't pay for. We couldn't buy that audience if we wanted to. We don't have enough money.
It was an interesting day. I remember when that happened.
I think, for us, we felt comfortable moving forward, especially knowing that, immediately CNN said, this is a hoax. Immediately the major news outlets came out and said, this is a hoax. And so if you looked at the dynamics of what was going on, we were not trying to deceive our local marketplace. That was not the intent. And I know that was a takeaway for a lot of folks. That was never the intent. The intent was to position Branson in a market or among viewers and people around the world that had never considered Branson to be anything. And so I think we accomplished that goal. We did ruffle a lot of feathers locally. But I would say the return on our investment was huge.
Because the whole thing was kind of weird for me because when he kept announcing, or whoever kept announcing that his uncle or whatever had founded Branson, I kept saying, has anybody checked into this? Has anybody actually gone on Ancestry and seen if this is possible, And so that kept happening. And then I was at Home Depot and I ran into an entertainer from Buckets and Boards, and he said, did you see this on online? I'm like, what are you talking about? And so he pulls it up. I go out to my car. I was leaving, and I'm watching this, and immediately I'm like, okay, I got to figure out a way to use this. Like, our website is All Things Branson. It's perfect for him. It's perfect. And so I'm watching it, and in my mind, it's racing. Like, maybe if I can get some sort of partnership, like this whole thing. And by the time I got from Home Depot down to the exit here by you guys, I had a feeling something wasn't right. Like, just listening to some of it, I'm like, wait a minute. Something's not right.
And keep in mind that, Richard Branson and that whole crew, every year they do some outlandish joke on April Fool's Day. So it wasn't out of character. And so, again, going back to what we felt comfortable doing, we felt like it would immediately be perceived as a joke because this is something he does every single year. Is try to have some outlandish April Fool's joke. And I think I know we have received inquiries from that. We've received recognition that is positive to Branson because of that. So it was a tense moment. It was something that at the time, certainly we went back and forth and said, is this going to be good? Is this going to be bad? And we said, let's do it.
Yeah.
It's very rare that you have the opportunity to work with someone like Richard Branson. What was even crazier for me was that I had just started.
Oh.
Literally, I started March 2nd, and it was the second week I was on the job. I get this thing land on my desk, and working with the city, obviously, and trying to figure out, is this something we want to take advantage of?
Was there a
And
moment
so,
where you're like, uh-oh? Like,
you know,
when people had perceived it a little bit different?
well, I felt bad because that was never the intent.
Some people felt that was an odd thing to do. Like he was almost making fun of Branson a little bit.
And I think it was more important for us to be involved in that than to have no involvement.
Yeah, because he probably would have done it anyways.
So let me be clear that it was more important for us to be involved than to have no involvement.
And that's what I've said in the interview. As I said, he was going to do it probably anyways. So,
the Richard Branson team was gracious enough to allow us access to some of the creative they were working on and all of that. And so while we had access and had some input, I would rather be on that side of the bench than
trust
everyone
me.
be surprised.
Yeah, I've been in that situation myself. So you just go with it.
Yeah.
So, well, that's good. Well, thanks for talking to us.
Absolutely.
And I think it's pretty cool. And I hope that we get to talk to some of your winners from your gala.
I can't wait.
Gala,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And get to interview a lot of the chamber members and that sort of thing. We've had a lot of contact since we've joined the chamber. We loved it. I've been to the breakfast. What's it called? The
First Friday coffee.
Oh yeah,
Or the Good Morning Branson.
which is funny because I don't drink coffee and stuff. But,
They have water as well.
yeah, they do. But it was kind of neat. You meet a lot of interesting businesses. I got to talk to a lot of the small business people and network a little bit. So get involved with the chamber on
involved.
that. So that's the thing. If you're not involved, you can't complain, I say. So, but there's so many resources available and that sort of thing. So,
That's right.
so get involved, and thank you for talking to me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And good luck in 2016. And thanks for watching. I'm Christopher James, and bye-bye. Thank you for supporting All Things Branson. Be sure to subscribe and stay in touch on Facebook and Twitter.